Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the world of EdTech coaching. Imagine you're helping teachers navigate technology and education, helping them create really engaging learning experiences with tech. Sounds pretty cool, right? So we're going to unpack some key insights from the EdTech Coaching Primer to see what it really takes to be an effective EdTech coach.
It's a role that's becoming more and more important these days, isn't it? It's not just knowing the latest gadgets. It's about how technology can enhance teaching, create a better learning environment for every student.
You're so right, and the primer really emphasizes personalized coaching. There's a story about a coach who started with a one-size-fits-all approach. Didn't work.
Makes sense, though. Each teacher has different strengths, different comfort levels with technology.
Exactly. And the book highlights all sorts of strategies a coach can use: co-planning, modeling, data analysis, co-teaching, the list goes on. It's not a one-size-fits-all, that's for sure.
No, definitely not.
Co-planning seems like a big one. The primer even gives a sample agenda. What stood out to me was the brainstorming part, where the coach and teacher explore all the ways tech could enhance a lesson, all the what-ifs.
Oh, yeah. That's where the fun begins. Creativity, innovation, that's where it all comes together. You're not just fixing tech problems. You're helping teachers see new possibilities, using technology to really engage those students, make them think deeper.
I love that. And there's this story about Connie, an EdTech coach, who helped a 7th-grade science teacher revamp a human body project.
Oh, Connie. Yeah, she didn't just tell the teacher what to do, she actually co-taught a lesson. A system-based approach, each student group became experts on a different body system, then used technology to create presentations and teach each other. The kids loved it. And you know what? Other teachers started asking Connie for help with similar projects. It was amazing.
That's such a great example. Modeling, done right. It makes you realize how important it is for the coach to be comfortable with different tools and strategies themselves.
Absolutely. Got to walk the walk, right? And that brings us to another big idea from the book, Reflection. It's not enough to just do the work. You got to step back, analyze what worked, what didn't, how you can improve.
Right. They talk about the what, so what, now what? Reflection protocol. Do you think that framework could be used in other areas of education, not just lesson planning?
That's interesting. I think it could, yeah. What, so what, now what? It really encourages you to think deeply, analyze things. Could be used for evaluating professional development, school-wide tech initiatives, even personal growth for educators.
You're right. The possibilities are endless. Speaking of personal growth, the book talks about coaching cycles, more structured ways to support teachers over time. The problem-solving cycle, the impact cycle, the dynamic learning project, even a specific EdTech coaching cycle. It's a lot to take in. Do you think there's a risk of, getting lost in all these different models?
Oh, for sure. That's a valid concern. It's important to remember these are just frameworks, not rules set in stone. The key is choosing a model that fits the specific needs of the teacher and what you're trying to achieve together, the learning goals.
So flexibility and adaptability, not getting so focused on the model that you miss the bigger picture.
Exactly. The goal is to help teachers use technology effectively, not to become experts in one specific coaching model.
That's a really good point. And on that note, the book also talks about how EdTech coaches can take on leadership roles in their schools, even districts.
Yeah, they share a story about Holly, a technology coach who saw a need for better professional development around tech integration in her school.
She had this vision, and she started collaborating with her colleagues, brainstorming, advocating for change. She presented her ideas to school leaders, got teachers on board, and eventually formed a team to design professional learning sessions. One passionate person making such a big impact.
Amazing, isn't it? And it didn't stop there. She even created a showcase to highlight what teachers were doing in their classrooms, and the district leaders took notice. They created an innovative teachers cohort led by Holly to spread those practices to other schools. Imagine that. An EdTech coach sparking a district-wide movement. It makes you think about what kind of leader you could be.
That's an interesting thought. Thinking about all these different aspects of EdTech coaching, from personalized support to leadership, it seems like time management would be a huge challenge. How could a coach possibly do it all?
Absolutely. The book suggests some things like the 10-minute rule, fix quick tech problems right away, but delegate more complicated issues to the school's tech support. It's about recognizing that your time is valuable. You can't be everything to everyone.
Right. And they talk about being transparent with the schedule.
Yes. By sharing their schedule and being upfront about their availability, EdTech coaches can set realistic expectations, avoid frustration for everyone. It also encourages teachers to be more proactive, maybe try solving problems on their own before calling for help. It's about sharing responsibility, working together.
Makes sense. They also talk about the rhythm of the school year, recognizing that there are times when teachers will need more support than others. Those first few weeks back after a break, for example, can be crazy with lots of tech issues popping up.
Oh, for sure. And then there are times when teachers are swamped with grading or report cards or standardized testing. They might not have the time or energy for tech integration. Being aware of those busy times, EdTech coaches can be more strategic with their support, reaching out proactively during the tough times, being flexible with scheduling during the quieter periods.
Right, right. Okay, before we move on, one more important point. Even EdTech coaches need to learn and grow.
Absolutely. They should always be learning, improving their skills and knowledge. The book recommends using the I standards for coaches, for self-evaluation and professional development planning.
Those standards are a great resource. ISDE, for those who don't know, is a global organization focused on technology and education. They have standards for all sorts of roles, including coaches. These standards can help coaches identify their strengths, areas where they might need more development, right?
Exactly. Coaches can create their own personalized professional development plan, maybe take a course, go to a conference, read a book, collaborate with other coaches, learn new strategies. The point is to be intentional about their own growth, just like they encourage teachers to be.
It's about walking the walk, showing that commitment to lifelong learning.
Exactly. And that actually leads to another crucial aspect of effective EdTech coaching that we should discuss further, the power of data.
Yes. The book talks about how data can inform so much, not just student learning, but coaching practices, decision-making at the school and district levels.
Being data-driven in coaching, in education as a whole, not just collecting data for the sake of it, but using it in a meaningful way to make things better.
So EdTech coaches can help teachers understand how to collect and analyze data, identify trends, areas for growth, even use data to advocate for change.
Precisely. And speaking of advocating for change,
The book really emphasizes how EdTech coaches can be powerful advocates, not just in the classroom, but at the school and district level. They can really leverage their expertise in data to make a difference.
oh, absolutely. There's a great story about an EdTech coach named Nikita. She started out meeting with teachers on a drop-in basis, but, she found she was always putting out fires, just dealing with immediate tech issues, not really able to give the kind of deep, sustained support that teachers need to grow.
Sounds like she was feeling a bit overwhelmed, pulled in too many directions. So how did she change things up?
Well, she decided to try a coaching cycle approach and started something called Tech Tuesdays. This allowed her to meet with teachers regularly, one-on-one, talk about their goals, really delve into their teaching practices. And get this, she started documenting those meetings to track progress over time, provide even more targeted support. A little structure can go a long way.
It sounds like it helped her be more proactive, more intentional. Instead of just reacting, she was driving the process. And the book also stresses the importance of having a clear vision for EdTech coaching, school-wide or even district-wide.
Exactly. That vision should be tied to the school's goals and should address the needs of teachers and students. It can't be something forced on everyone. It has to be a collaborative effort with input from teachers, administrators, and of course the EdTech coach.
Makes sense. Everyone working together towards a shared goal. That's when real change can happen.
Absolutely. That actually brings us to another interesting idea from the book, The EdTech Coach as a Change Agent.
Now that's a powerful concept, not just supporting individual teachers, but helping to shift the culture of the whole school, the whole district even.
Right. The book gives these inspiring examples of EdTech coaches who've really transformed learning for entire communities. They've helped design innovative lessons, advocated for equitable access to technology, really pushed for student-centered learning.
It's amazing what they can achieve.
Yeah.
But the book also acknowledges that change takes time. It requires patience, persistence, and, being able to handle those inevitable bumps in the road.
So true. And that reminds me, we need to talk about something else important from the book. EdTech coaches need to prioritize their own growth too.
Right. We talked about the IT standards earlier. EdTech coaches have to be lifelong learners, always expanding their skills and knowledge.
The book goes beyond just professional development, though. It emphasizes reflection. There are even some guiding questions to help with this, like, what are my strengths as a coach? What areas do I need to work on? What impact am I having on the teachers I'm supporting? Taking the time to really think about those things.
Those are such important questions.
Hmm.
It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget to step back and reflect. I think anyone in education could benefit from thinking about these things. I know I will.
Me too. And this focus on reflection really gets to the heart of what being an EdTech coach is all about. It's not just about technical skills or knowing the latest gadgets. It's about having a growth mindset, being willing to learn and adapt, and being truly dedicated to supporting teachers and students.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And the book emphasizes that this commitment to growth should include understanding and using data effectively.
Yes. Data can be such a powerful tool for making things better, not just for individual students, but for the whole classroom, the school, even the district. EdTech coaches can help teachers understand the data, use it to pinpoint areas for growth, make more informed decisions about their teaching.
It makes you realize how important it is for EdTech coaches to be good communicators, especially when it comes to data. They have to explain it clearly to teachers and administrators.
Absolutely. They need to present data in a way that's clear, concise, and actionable. They also need to help teachers see how the data connects to their teaching and to what students are learning. It's not just about the numbers themselves, it's about using those numbers to tell a story, to see patterns, and to make changes that matter.
I love that. Data storytelling. Using data to paint a picture of what's happening in the classroom
Yeah.
and then inspiring action.
Exactly. And this idea of using data to make decisions ties back into the EdTech coach as a change agent. They can use data to advocate for resources, to challenge the status quo, to push for innovation.
The possibilities are really exciting. EdTech coaches are on the leading edge of education, helping to shape the future of learning. That's pretty amazing.
It really is. And speaking of the future of learning, the book also touches on how the EdTech coaching role itself is evolving. It's a fairly new field, and it's constantly changing, just like technology.
It makes you wonder what the future holds for these coaches, especially as technology keeps advancing so rapidly. What do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities for EdTech coaches in the years to come?
That's a good question. One challenge I see is the need for ongoing professional development. As technology changes, EdTech coaches need to stay ahead of the game. They have to keep learning and adapting their skills to meet the evolving needs of teachers and students.
That makes sense. It goes back to what we were saying before. Even coaches have to be continuous learners. And that actually connects to another challenge the book mentioned, need for strong support from administrators. EdTech coaches need time and resources for that ongoing learning, and they need the freedom to put their vision into action.
Oh, definitely. Without that support from above, it's hard for EdTech coaches to really make a difference. And remember, the role can look very different depending on the school.
That's true.
Yeah.
The book talked about how some EdTech coaches are full-time, dedicated just to coaching, while others have a combined role that includes teaching or other responsibilities.
And like we said, the level of support they get from administrators, their responsibilities, all of that can affect their effectiveness. It really highlights the importance of clearly defining the role of the EdTech coach, what they're responsible for, how they can best support teachers and students. That should be clear in every school and district.
And having that shared vision, like we discussed earlier, everyone needs to be on the same page about the EdTech coach's role and how they can best contribute.
Exactly. Now imagine for a moment that you were an EdTech coach. What would be your top priorities? How would you build those relationships with teachers and advocate for the resources and support they need to effectively use technology in their classrooms? What would that look like for you?
Wow, that's really something to think about. Reflecting on everything we've talked about, it seems like effective EdTech coaching boils down to a few key things. Building strong relationships, being a lifelong learner, using data to inform decisions, and being an advocate for change.
You got it. Those are the core elements for sure. And one more thought. I think the heart of EdTech coaching is about empowering teachers. It's about helping them feel confident and skilled in using technology to create those amazing learning experiences for their students.
It's about nurturing that growth mindset, that willingness to experiment, to try new things, to take risks, and learn from mistakes. And at the end of the day, remembering that technology is just a tool. The real magic comes from the teacher, creating those connections, sparking that love of learning in their students.
Well said. As we wrap up this deep dive into EdTech coaching, I hope you're feeling inspired, ready to embrace the possibilities that technology brings to education. Whether you're a teacher, administrator, or maybe even a future EdTech coach, remember you can make a real difference.
Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in education.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's really inspiring to see how much potential there is in EdTech coaching. It's a role that can really make a difference in how teachers teach and how students learn.
It's fascinating, right, how it'll keep changing and adapting as we go forward. The book even mentioned, how EdTech coaching is a pretty new field, and it's already gone through a lot of changes, especially with the rise of online learning and, schools giving every student a device.
Yeah, that's true. It makes you wonder what's next for EdTech coaches with technology changing so fast. What do you see as the biggest challenges and the biggest opportunities for them in the future?
Hmm, that's a really good question. Well, one challenge I think they'll face is the need to constantly keep learning, professional development.
Mm.
As technology keeps evolving, EdTech coaches will need to stay ahead of the curve, always learning new things and figuring out how to adapt their skills to meet the needs of teachers and students. Yeah, that's a good point. It's like we were saying earlier, even coaches need to be lifelong learners.
Right.
And, that brings up another challenge the book mentioned, the need for strong support from administrators. EdTech coaches need time and resources for all that learning, and they need the freedom to actually put their vision into action.
Yeah, absolutely. Without that support from the top, it's going to be hard for them to be effective. And, we have to remember that the ed tech coach role can look very different from one school to the next.
Right, right. The book talked about how some EdTech coaches are full-time, focused just on coaching, and others have more of a mixed role. Maybe they teach too or have other responsibilities.
Exactly. And, like we said, the level of support they get, their exact responsibilities,
Mm.
all of that can affect how successful they are. It really shows how important it is to be clear about what the ed tech coach is supposed to do. What are their main tasks? How can they best support teachers and students? That should be clear for everyone in the school or the district.
And having that shared vision that we talked about. Everyone needs to be on the same page about the EdTech coach's role and how they can best contribute.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, let's try a little thought experiment. Imagine you're an ed tech coach. What would you focus on? How would you approach building those relationships with teachers? How would you advocate for the resources and support they need to really use technology well in their classrooms?
Wow, that's a great question. I'm gonna have to think about that one. Thinking back on our conversation, it seems like there are a few key things that make EdTech coaching really effective. Building strong relationships, committing to lifelong learning, using data to guide decisions, and being a voice for change.
Yeah, you nailed it. Those are the essentials. And one more thing. I think it all comes down to empowering teachers, helping them feel confident and capable of using technology to create those exciting, effective learning experiences for their students.
Yes, it's about encouraging that growth mindset,
Yeah.
being open to trying new things, taking risks, learning from mistakes, and ultimately remembering that technology is just a tool. It's the teacher who makes the real magic happen, building those relationships with students, helping them discover a love for learning.
Beautifully put. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of EdTech coaching, I hope you're leaving with a sense of inspiration, a feeling of, hey, I can do this. Whether you're a teacher, an administrator, or maybe even a future EdTech coach, remember, you have the power to make a difference.
Absolutely. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the limits of what's possible in education. Thanks for joining us today.